public and ask for their help figuring out which of those needles in the haystack is a real planet-forming disk. No experience necessary. There's a short online tutorial. In about 5 minutes, you're looking at data, you're helping NASA, and you're potentially making discoveries.
NASA has many satellites orbiting the Earth that look at clouds from above, but we need your help to make matching observations from below. By getting the perspective from both sides, we can have a more complete picture of what's happening with clouds in the atmosphere. Satellites see clouds differently than human observers, and NASA scientists could never be in all the places they would like to be to collect data from the ground, which is why we need your help making observations.
So we've been traveling around the world using drones and this technique to map corals in 3D. And the biggest challenge we have with all of this data is how to classify it. How do we get the basic number of how many corals there are, how they're doing as a function of changing ocean temperatures. And that's where NemoNet comes in. So we built a video game that ties into our supercomputer, and you can download it and play it on your iPhone or iPad device. And what you're doing in that game is looking at our data sets that we are getting from around the world with these drones and helping learn about corals at the same time as coloring them and feeding data into our supercomputer.
On Planet Hunters TESS, we use data obtained by NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS. So TESS is a space-based satellite that monitors the brightness of thousands of stars, and we need your help to find the planets within these data. In particular, we want to find the planets that the machine and computer algorithms tend to miss.
So auroras affect our technologies on Earth and in the sky in satellites, and they move really quickly, and it's important to get an understanding of what they're doing, and citizen scientists can really help with that.
What kind of discoveries have citizen scientists made with this project?
So one big one is something called Steve, which is actually an aurora that can be seen further away from the poles than the usual aurora. It's very unusual. It kind of looks like an airplane condensation trail, but with a photograph you can pick up these amazing colors as well. By studying it further with satellite data and other data from the ground, we've discovered it's really like a flow-driven aurora. It's an east to west flow that is lighting up the sky and doing some amazing kind of new, unusual auroral activity that's still being studied now.
We astronomers thought that disks stopped forming planets after about 5 million years, but then the citizen scientists at Disk Detective started finding objects that were able to form planets about 9 or 10 times the age of that, so into the 40 and 50 million year old age range. And the astronomy community is still trying to figure out what that means, so it's pretty exciting.
The second is, once you have all that data, it really doesn't mean anything unless you have humans come in and help annotate what it is we're looking at. To put it bluntly, they are changing the world. I mean, we have mapped, as of 2020, around 6% of the ocean floor.
Project in 2006, I think we had like 5 teams participating. Now we've got over 3,000 teams from 80 countries around the world to participate. Citizen scientists are able to look at these images and see deeper into the images than the automated detection utilities. Those are important observations because they're finding things that are missed in the original data.
Hello, my name is Marc and I've been part of the Globe Observer program, which is part of NASA's citizen science project. I've been involved in this project for the past 6 months. I decided to participate in this project so that I get the opportunity to do something cool and interesting in my free time.
Please join us because it's a very exciting thing to be involved with, to be able to report and share what I see. I'm not a scientist, I don't have a great camera, I'm not a professional, but I can be involved in something that's really important. And right now,
hey everybody, greetings from the Arctic. Team Hearts in the Ice, saying hi.
Hi.
We want everybody at the CitSciCon to be super citizen science heroes.
It's so much fun. Join in. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to those who are joining us in Zoom, to those in YouTube and Facebook. We are going to do a live sound check now with the presenters. So you're seeing a little bit of the back end. Let's start with Marc. Welcome, Marc.
Hi, it's great to be back. What a day we're having. What a weekend we're having. Hi, Aries,
Absolutely.
Doreen. Oh my goodness. I see Michaela and Maik. So great to see you all here.
What's been your favorite part so far, Marc?
Oh, well, I practically burst into tears already like 3 times over the last 3 days, hearing the stories of how citizen science has changed people's lives, both the citizen scientists and the professional scientists. So hopefully I'll keep it together a little bit better this time, but yeah, the emotions.
There's no shame in the emotions game, Marc. It's wonderful and inspiring. I've definitely been inspired by just how many people have tuned in and across the world. Every session that we're in, there's folks from coast to coast in the States, in India. There's folks calling in from Africa, from Europe, every continent, I think. And we had folks from Antarctica too, right? Submit a video. So was that Antarctica or was that somewhere else? Some very cold place. All right, let's continue with the sound check. Michaela,
Okay.
welcome.
We are on. They're doing a test right now. I don't know if you can see us live or not.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You sound great.
Awesome.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Aries, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, I am here.
Awesome.
Nope. They just did a sound check with me.
You sound great. Okay. Doreen.
Hi, everybody. Right? Yes.
Oh, great. There's 2. Oh, no, there we go. Welcome. Hi, Doreen. You sound great.
Hey. Awesome.
Esteban.
Hi, good afternoon. I just noticed that my name was incorrect, so I just updated it for you.
No problem. I was like, Doreen, there's 2 Doreens. There we go. Perfect. I think we have everybody too. Maik, welcome. You're muted, Maik.
We forgot to turn on.
Good evening from Germany.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us so late. And I think that is everyone. Let me just double check my list here. So we have Marc, we have Doreen, we have Aries, Jessica. Oh no, Jessica has a video. Michaela, Steven. Is Steven here?
Hi, good afternoon.
Yay.
Good afternoon, Steven. Wonderful. And Maik. Great. That is everyone. We're going to get started in just 4 minutes. A reminder to our panelists today, this is a pretty full session, which is amazing. Just, make sure that you're monitoring your airtime since we want to hear from everybody and we want to leave some time for questions at the end. And I think there is no run of slides here. Awesome. Let's see where folks are tuning in from in our last 3 minutes. All right, we have folks from the Arctic. Yay, okay. Arctic Circle. Australia, Nepal, India, wonderful. The Netherlands, Nairobi, France. This is so great.
And really quickly, this is Caroline from the SciStarter team. I actually have 2 last questions for our little sound check. I just want to make sure for our presenters, I'm just going to quickly speed ahead for a second, that I have the right headshots for you all. I know we have a full house, so in case everybody's face is with the right name. All right, I think we're good on that front. And then I had a question specifically for Maik. Maik, I know that you had some slides and you were thinking about not using them because most people don't, but they were really good, so I put them in here anyway, so they're available if you want them.
Okay.
Okay, so when you get to your part, just if you want slides, just let me know and I'll pop them up for you. But otherwise, we're just gonna Jessica pre-recorded hers, but otherwise Marc is gonna be our fearless leader here and our moderator for our very full house. With that being said, I'll let Tara go back to the remaining several minutes of the sound check.
Wonderful. We usually get a really packed Q&A, panelists. So as we are rolling, make sure that you're checking that, opening it up to the open questions and answering the technical questions that our meant for you specifically. And also, Marc as the moderator, pulling questions for everybody to hear, even if they were answered. You can go back in the answered ones and maybe pull some up that it would be great for the whole session and all of our attendees to hear. All right, with that said, we are 30 seconds to live, so I'm going to turn it over to Marc. And at the top of the hour, we're going to get started. Have fun, everyone.
Thank you, Tara. Oh my goodness, it's been a crazy 2 days, and this is about to get even crazier. So I get a lot of questions all the time about, well, where can citizen science take me? Can I get a job working for NASA? Can I be a NASA intern? Where do you get all this data from? What happens to me now? Okay, well, guess what? Today we've got your dream team right here online with you to help answer those questions. We have the lead recruiter for NASA, the director of NASA intern program. We have citizen scientist Maik, who discovered his own family of comets. We have the program executive for scientific data. I'll show you their photos in a second. Anyway, buckle up. Next slide. Oh, a few reminders, the event's being recorded. And we can't necessarily see you, so make sure to use that Q&A tool to ask your questions. That's the best way to interact with these awesome speakers that we have today. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, add your questions in the comments, and our moderators will pull from them and share them with the presenters when there's a chance. And we're here to have fun and help everybody make big scientific discoveries. We've got a couple of polls that are going to pop up right here. Please click one. You can't, if you're a panelist or a host, you can't vote, but everybody else, please pick a little box. Tell us if you're a citizen scientist or a student or both. You can click as many as you'd like. Be a library or museum staff member. Click all those buttons, and then we're going to share the results with you in a second too. When you start voting, some results are going to pop up, and you'll see who is with you in this room. And well, I'm going to predict that anybody taking bets, I'm going to predict it's mostly citizen scientists, only by a hair. Let's see. Bam! I got it. So we have lots of citizen scientists with us. That's great. You've come to the right place. Welcome. We also, I see, have lots of students. Okay, time for next poll. We want to find out how long you've been participating, if this is totally new to you, or if you're a lifetime citizen scientist. Please let us know on this poll. And I'm going to flip a coin to make my guess here. I'm going to guess, oh, I blew that. Okay, wow, lots of people have been at it for more than 1 year. That makes sense because you're in a session about what you can do next after you've tried citizen science. So that's perfect. Welcome to the presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, so guess what? Here we've got this great summary of all the panoply of opportunities that NASA has for people to get involved in NASA. It's kind of mind-boggling. So we've got this kind of, it's almost like a board game, a little map here. We have opportunities for people in high school, opportunities people in their undergraduate programs, graduate programs, and if you follow that little snake across the board, it takes you all the way through postdoctoral opportunities, all the way to job opportunities at NASA. This slide and further clickable descriptions of all of these NASA opportunities are online at this web page. Next slide. Go to science.nasa.gov/learners/learner opportunities. I'm going to type that into the chat because this is the answer to many of the questions people have about other opportunities at NASA. They're all collected on this page, from internships to scholarships to jobs to even to some of the opportunities, the unique special opportunities that Aries Keck is going to tell us about for translating earth science into action. We've attempted to assemble them all here on this page, so I hope you'll check it out. Next slide. We go again through our amazing run of speakers. Esteban Morales is our lead recruiter. want to know how to get a job at NASA, talk to him and talk to Doreen. She's in charge of our intern program. That's a great path into working for NASA. Aries Keck, I was just telling you about, leads I'll let her introduce it, but she's in the applied science division and she has lots of great opportunities to present. Jessica Taylor is going to join us by video. She's going to tell us her story of how she started as a citizen scientist once and then found herself working for NASA. Michaela has adventures to share about starting in citizen science and then moving into academia in science and internships in science. Steven Crawford will give us a tour of our archives and how you can dig into them yourself. And Mike's got great stories. Next slide. And now I'm going to turn this over to our first awesome speaker, Esteban, who is our lead recruiter at NASA.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the invitation. Hello, everyone. I have a great appreciation for science. Not only that I'm actually at a STEM agency, but I actually saw my wife go through her 7 years of getting her PhD in molecular and cell biology. So she had an interesting ride because in her 4th year, her project didn't necessarily turn out, so she had to change labs. So the 5-year goal became a 7-year goal. So I absolutely understand what you're going through because I saw it firsthand. But for those that are interested in after getting your degree in your PhD in science, for those that are interested in maybe not going through the postdoctoral route, which is actually one of the things my wife didn't want to do. She didn't necessarily, after her PhD, she did 1-2 postdocs and she was done. She absolutely said, look, I'm tired of bench work. I appreciate science, but I want to apply it in a different manner. So what I'd like to speak to you on is how can you utilize your current experience to get a federal government job? So we have different ways, and due to limited time, most of you, I did put my LinkedIn profile. So if I don't get through everything, you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. But for first and starters, we do have internship programs. We have something called the Pathways programs. There's actually 3 separate programs within that main pathway to federal employment. One is through the Pathways internship program, which is what NASA highly uses. For those that are currently still in their PhD programs, please understand that these come in 2 cohort cycles. Positions open up in the fall and in the spring. They actually come out for a week time. This fall period, I'm very excited that NASA Goddard specifically, their science director is actually going to be pursuing pathway students, not just for the entire NASA, but this is from right now. I understand they're specifically looking for PhDs. There's hopefully other centers, other science directorates at the agency that right now we're not aware of, but we will in the near future that will also be pursuing PhDs. Just so you're aware, you have to be at least a sophomore with 30 credit hours. You have to have enough time to actually be able to complete the requirements. One is you have to maintain a minimum 2.9 or above throughout the program. And the other is you actually have to work at a NASA center currently virtually for at least 640 hours before you graduate. So that's about 4 months of work. In addition to the Pathways program, you can definitely do a Google search on the recent graduate program and also the Presidential Management Fellows program. I highly recommend the Presidential Management Fellows program as well as a government-wide program. This is actually the mechanism my wife was able to successfully get federal employment at the National Science Foundation. That's something that NASA doesn't necessarily use to bring individuals on board, but it's a program that you can actually apply federal-wide. The recent graduate, we don't use that either, primarily because we use another mechanism to hire entry-level personnel, which is called the Direct Hiring Authority. We've actually been able to be approved because of our goal to land the first female and the first man of color on the moon by 2024. We are currently pursuing to acquire 4,200 individuals from the grade 7, which is entry-level role. Grade 7, 9, 11 are all entry-level roles through the 15. The 15 is a little more experienced. All these opportunities you can absolutely find on the job section of our NASA LinkedIn page. And speaking of our NASA LinkedIn page, I do want to inform you that we are using, because of the current environment, using recruitment services provided by LinkedIn. Some of the things that we're doing is that we're trying to find talent with the right skill sets for some of our roles, especially those hard to fill. In doing so, I'm wanting to provide information on how you can attract recruiters to your profile. Individuals, absolutely, hiring managers, 75% of hiring managers actually look at LinkedIn profiles and social media as they look at individuals that they're interested in interviewing. Some of the 5 categories that recruiters such as myself actually look on LinkedIn to make sure that you have. The more you provide information, the better for the recruiter to make sure that you are a right fit for the role is education, experience, volunteer experience, and skills. And most importantly, also, if you can include a photo. I know some of you are shy, but also hiring managers like to see who potentially they could be working for. So just so you're aware, if you provide your education, members who list school get 10% more views on average because they list their higher education. If you include experience, profiles with 2 or more positions are up to 36 times more likely to be found by recruiters. If you include 5 skills or more, you'll get up to 70 times more profile views. And then specifically, if you include a photo, profiles with photos get 21 more times views on average. So these are some information for you. And then ultimately at the end, the most important thing is your experience, right? There are some profiles out there, they just list where they've worked, but if you actually list what you did during that time, profiles with 2 or more positions are up to 36 times more likely to be found by recruiters such as myself. For more information on some of our roles and how you can successfully apply and potentially be a future employee of NASA, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm looking for talent every day, except the last week because I just came off a well-deserved vacation, so I'm back. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to you, Marc.
Awesome, and I'll pass it right forward to Doreen. Tell us about NASA's intern program. That was great.
Awesome. Sounds good, Marc. Thank you so much for the invitation, and Caroline as well for coordinating this. And hi to everyone who is joining us on your Saturday. So glad to be here. I did want to start by just answering some of the questions I saw in the chat. And one was for Esteban. Do you know Eddie Gonzalez? And I'll just say that both Esteban and I know Eddie very well. He's an amazing person. And there were some questions about qualifications. If you go to intern.nasa.gov, you will see the qualifications for the OSTEM internship program, which is the program that I work with. And also visiting USA Jobs is a great way to see the qualifications for pathways. So for OSTEM internships, we run on 3 cycles. We have spring, summer, and fall internships. And those are open to high school through postdoctoral, even educators. So if you're a teacher and you want to use your summer to come work at NASA and learn more about the field, you are absolutely welcome to do that. As Esteban mentioned, it's so important to highlight your experiences, and especially any of those experiences that you have with NASA, such as this organization, because we do want to continue to engage you in our pipeline. And as Esteban mentioned, you can absolutely connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I put my link in the chat and I'll follow up again. But just more about our internship program. We are currently recruiting for our fall semester. And so the application deadline for that is July 9th. And if you're interested in learning more in detail about the OSTEM internship program, I will be facilitating an info session on Tuesday with our headquarters Asian American Pacific Islander employee resource group. So definitely invite you all to attend that. And I will put it in the chat as well. And I know we're short on time, so I think that's a quick highlight for internships. And if you all have questions, I'll be sticking around to answer any questions in the Q&A or afterwards. Thank you, Marc.
Doreen, that was killer. Thanks so much. And now over to Aries, Keck, for if you want to go directly to changing the world using NASA's Earth science data.
We may have lost Aries for the moment, Marc. So why don't we go to the next one? Yeah.
Doreen and Esteban dropped a lot of wisdom on us. So any questions for them that they can answer? Anybody see any great ones in the chat here?
Marc, we're gonna go to Jessica's video.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect.
I'll find some good questions for us too.
Awesome.
Well, it's great to be here with everyone at the Citizen Science Conference. Hello, my name is Jessica Taylor. I work at NASA Langley Research Center, that's in Hampton, Virginia, and I am a physical scientist there. And I would like to speak with you a little today about my journey in becoming a scientist at NASA and how citizen science was a really critical part of that path for me. So to get us started, I would like to play this animation. So this is a visualization of modeled clouds and aerosols. What do you notice? Is there anything that surprises you in this? I love this animation for a lot of reasons. First of all, I notice that you see at the poles, this white, that's static. So that's snow, right? On the ground at the poles, we have snow, but you also see all of this beautiful white, which is the clouds that are moving. And something that I notice, especially in an animation like this, is how we are all very connected on this planet Earth. And clouds may originate in one location and move to another. Now, there are these pops of colors, these purples and teals. Those are aerosols. And those aerosols, these tiny little particles in our atmosphere, those also can originate in one region of the world and move to another region because of air. And I find this a beautiful image and just this interconnectedness that we all share. Now, if you look at this, you see a lot of white, right? And so at any point in time, over 70% of the Earth is covered by clouds. And I am a meteorologist and I study clouds. And this image here, I hope inspires you to be a little more curious about the clouds in our sky. And I'm going to tell you at the end how you can join a citizen science program where your observations of clouds can help NASA science. So back to my story. So how did I ever get interested in science in the first place? Well, for me, that happened a lot because of where I lived. I grew up outside of Tampa, Florida, which is the lightning capital of the world. And I absolutely loved watching the lightning storms. And I was fascinated by this. And in high school, I had a great teacher who encouraged me to research and learn a little bit more about lightning. And what I learned was that scientists were still learning about lightning too. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, that you could have a job learning about something that interests you. And that's really what science is all about, right? Investigating this natural world around us to better understand it. And that's how I decided to go and get a degree in meteorology. And so I went to Florida State University for this degree, not knowing what I was going to do with it. And my major professor and mentor introduced me to the GLOBE program, which is one of NASA's citizen science programs. And as an undergraduate college student, I participated in the program as a student. I went outside every day to make observations of the weather. So I went actually on a hot tar roof. It was very hot because it was Florida. And every day I made observations of clouds, of contrails, of precipitation, relative humidity, temperature, barometric pressure, aerosols. And through that, I learned a lot about that science content. And I learned skills and how to use instruments and how these instruments worked. And so that helped me build my confidence as a meteorology student. And not only was I learning this really critical content and how we make weather observations and measurements, but I was also learning about science, the skills of science. And so doing GLOBE is doing science. So I was able to observe and ask questions about my environment. I was collecting this data and reporting it back to the GLOBE database. I was able to create maps and graphs for my own studies, and I was able to analyze and conduct research with my own data. And as a GLOBE student, I was able to publish some of my results and share it through the GLOBE program. And what I think is most important is that I was able to be in a community, the GLOBE community, where I was collaborating with other citizen scientists and scientists from around the world. All of these skills, that content base, the understanding how to do science, really helped give me the confidence to pursue a formal professional path as a scientist. And I am lucky enough to still be a part of this GLOBE program today. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about how we combine at NASA the GLOBE observations from you as a citizen scientist and even myself as a citizen scientist with NASA satellite data. So as this animation plays, you'll see these domes. Those domes are cloud observations from GLOBE citizen scientists. Where you see blue, they're recording clear skies. And where you see a whiter dome, they're reporting cloudy skies. And there's this flat image, kind of like a picture. That's our MODIS imagery from the MODIS instrument. And then we have these really beautiful vertical profiles, and those are from the Calypso and CloudSat satellites. And you can see right there, you can see someone reported cloud cover, and indeed there are clouds in that scene, and a clear sky and cloudless scene from the satellite. Now, it's very important. This is not just about making sure that the satellites match, but actually each of these satellites, each of these instruments is a different instrument, and it tells us a slightly different story of clouds. It tells us something a little bit different in each of them. And so we need to combine all of these observations together to fully understand what's going on in any one of these cloud scenes. And so your observations on the ground, using your eyes as your tool, can be combined with photographic imagery, infrared, radar, and our LiDAR to better fully understand how clouds impact our weather and our climate, because not all clouds impact climate in the same way. And so we want to investigate not just where there are clouds, but what are the features of those clouds? And so all of those things you can share back with us and join this GLOBE community with me through the GLOBE program. And so I invite you today to join our project, and you can look for this on SciStarter on the NASA portal. Find GLOBE Observer. GLOBE Observer is the app that we use in the GLOBE community to record our observations. So you can download that app, set up your account, and start making your observations and submitting them back to NASA. And through this interface, through the phone app, you're able to make observations of cloud sky. Are there clouds? Are there not clouds? What's the percentage of cloud cover? And tell us a little bit more. You can go deeper and tell us about the cloud types that you see. And all of that information can be used to better understand our weather and climate. So I hope to see you online and join me with the GLOBE community. Thank you.
Wonderful. Jessica, I think has joined us. If we have any
quick questions for Jessica. I have one. Jessica, did you participate in the formal NASA internship program?
No, I did not, but I'm very familiar with the NASA internship program because I serve as a mentor for many students, and I know we've been having conversation around teachers. My team has also looked for and hired teacher interns for our program, and specifically doing the Globe program.
Wonderful. And do you have any what advice would you give to citizen scientists who are online with us if they would like to end up working for NASA someday?
Absolutely. Well, I mentioned in my story how building my science confidence was really important. And I think that engaging in citizen science is an opportunity to continue to build those skills. And as a high school student or as a college student, making sure to be prepared from a perspective of taking science, making sure you take math courses, make sure you take those courses because they're oftentimes prerequisite requirements for a number of other science courses that you might need to go into specifically a STEM discipline. And in addition to that, I mentioned building those skills with citizen science, but make sure to try out different internships and volunteer opportunities, because even the ones that you don't like, you wind up learning a lot about yourself, about what skills you have, and also what skills you need to build up.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jessica. Let's talk now to Michaela and get a different perspective on NASA internships. Michaela, would you tell your story?
Yes, hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela, and I'm actually currently a graduate student at Texas A&M University Commerce. I defend my thesis in 3 weeks for my master's degree in physics. But before all of that, I was a citizen scientist before I even got into physics in academia. Back in undergraduate, I used to be a business major, and I really liked space. I've always had an interest in space and stars, and I used to read NASA articles all the time. And I remember that there was this one NASA article that came out that was, the headline was like, "Discover something new in space." And I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And I read the article, and it was all about a new citizen science project called Backyard Worlds, which is based on discovering new brown dwarfs. And I had no idea what brown dwarfs were, but I thought it sounded really, really cool. And I made a little alarm on my calendar for the day the project launched. And as soon as it launched, I automatically started working on it and basically spent all of my free time on Backyard Worlds for the first few weeks or so. And after a little bit, Marc, who is the PI of the project, ended up emailing me, and he was like, "Hi, I see you know a lot about astronomy. You've been working a lot. Would you like to be a moderator?" And I was just kind of like, "Oh, I literally know nothing about astronomy. I'm a business major." And so that was really exciting for me. And I had already been kind of thinking about changing my major, but getting into Backyard Worlds and just hopping into a citizen science project and talking with all of the different people online, whether that be the other citizen scientists or the scientists on the project too, kind of immersed me in the entire thing and made me realize, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. So pretty much 2 weeks after the project launched, I changed my major and graduated with a physics degree, and I got to do astronomy research. And now I'm doing a master's in physics degree. But one thing that came out that was really, really cool out of starting citizen science was that I actually got to do an internship with Marc at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, where I got to kind of continue the research and the science that was happening with Backyard Worlds. And I got to do some more like behind the scenes type stuff. And that is an opportunity that I never would have thought could have come out of citizen science or just in general that I could have done. But it was a really awesome opportunity. And I think it, anyone can do that if you have an interest in it. And I quickly want to answer. I saw a question from someone that had said, I'm in high school. I'm really interested in a lot of different types of science. What should I do? Well, I never thought I would have gone into science. I never hated math. I never liked math. I was kind of neutral about it, but I always thought space was cool, but it was never something that I thought I could actually do as a career. And so my advice to people who are interested in lots of different types of science is go participate in citizen science projects. They are incredible resources for you to explore your interests and figure out what interests you. They're all free. There's so many different types. We were talking about the clouds ones. There's ones that have to do in biology. There's lots of different space projects and a ton more. So if you think you might be interested in anything, go try them out and see what interests you. Go talk to the people in the talk forum. It's a really cool environment, and it lets you meet a lot of people, and you can chat to a lot of people too who might be in the same boat as you. But yeah, I've definitely enjoyed my time as a citizen scientist, and I've missed it the past couple of years. My schoolwork has made me not be able to work as much, but I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some free time and checking out projects I used to work on and some new ones. But thank you so much for letting me chat a little bit.
And thank you so much, Michaela. You've added so much to the project over the years, and we love seeing what where your path takes you.
Yeah, thanks.
Wonderful. So let's talk now to Aries Keck for an introduction to NASA's Applied Sciences program.
Thanks for having me. I hope the connection stays stable. So NASA's Earth Applied Sciences program puts Earth science data in the hands of pretty much everyday people, water resource managers, people who are looking at air quality, public health professionals, people looking before and after a disaster. So we do a lot of working really with people on what they need NASA science or Earth science data for, and then getting them tools, essentially websites that they can go to and use for so many things, everything from mosquito-borne diseases, like I mentioned, air quality, we do forest quality. That's if you're going from being a citizen scientist to bring Earth science data into what you're working on now. We also have an entire capacity building program, and that involves, we have a program called RSET, which are 6-week webinars that teach people how to access Landsat data or other NASA satellite data for specific uses. We have one on fires that's just wrapping up. They do them often in Spanish and now recently in French quite often. So we're reaching out to many different languages. And we also have programs like Develop, which is for people who are doing doctorates or pre-doctorates, if you're in graduate school, on something else, teaching you how you might be able to use Earth science data with your work. So it's kind of the graduate level, if you will, part of citizen scientists. But we have lots of information about how to use Earth science data at our website. And it's a rapidly expanding world. We have so many satellites circling Earth right now, just collecting data. And really what the Applied Sciences program does is figure out how to get that data into the hands of people who can use it. And there's URLs in the chats, and excited to answer any questions. Oh, and Space for Us, I should be remiss if I don't mention that. We have a website where we put on a map of the United States, Space for US, Space for Us, of different projects we have all over the country. So check us out and let us know. And I'm really pleased to talk to citizen scientists. You guys are just fantastic.
Wow, thank you so much, Aries. And Aries, I hope you can stick around and answer questions in the chat. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And now let's pass the mic to Steven Crawford for a quick tour of NASA's archives, where you can go directly and view, download, manipulate NASA satellite data. Grab your hard drive and ready, set, go.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks so much. Do you have, should I share my slides?
Yes.
All right. I will share my screen and all right, let me just go view full screen. So hopefully you can see it. I'm Steve Crawford. Thank you so much for having me here, Marc. I'm the Science Data Officer with the Science Mission Directorate. And it's my job to make sure that NASA data is as open and as accessible as possible. I'm very excited to be here. I remember my first introduction to citizen science was helping with weather stations at the observatory in Virginia. And it's been amazed by the evolution of citizen science over the last 20 years, and having everyone involved with it is and making use of NASA data is so exciting. So data are one of our main products that NASA produces in our search for knowledge. There are over 40 petabytes of data from over 60 years of science already available and ready to be explored. Our data grows by over 35 terabytes a day, which is like the equivalent of producing a feature-length film every 9 seconds. And all of this data, all the information that we produce, NASA data are all in the public domain and free to use. They are accessible, and everyone is welcome to actually come and access the data. And so, as mentioned, we have over 100 missions which are orbiting around the Earth, occurring in the space station, or observing the sun throughout the solar system, and observing our wider universe as well. Things like the Hubble Space Telescope, and shortly in the future, the James Webb Space Telescope. And all of these missions are producing a fantastic amount of data about our universe, which is readily, hopefully, and accessible to everyone here. And some of these are actually coming from things like the Earth Data System, EOSTIS, which actually has all of our Earth data and our Earth observations in it. And there's a range of different portals there to actually provide access of looking at the world in different ways, and different dashboards to provide further information. There is the Solar System Treks, which provide ability to visit other planets and to ride around on the surface to look at the data, which you can then follow up in the PDS, the Planetary Data Systems Image Atlas, to actually find all of the images which are produced by our great missions like the Mars Perseverance. And all of this data is there and readily accessible to everyone. And we have observations of the sun from different observatories like SOHO and the Solar Dynamic Observatory, and I think we'll hear some more about that in a few minutes. We also have like all the information about the planets that we've discovered around other stars, all the exoplanets, all of their information, the ones which have been discovered by the TESS and by Kepler, and those which have been discovered in citizen science projects like Planet Hunters and some of the other projects. All of this data is actually then readily available to help people actually understand what are the exoplanets that we found and what data do we have on them. And then we also have things like the Minkowski Archive for Space Telescopes, which have all of our data from the Hubble Space Telescope and other telescopes that have been being in use and will be used in the future, where people can actually go and just discover these amazing images of our deeper universe. And so in addition to all of our data and observations, all of the publications, all the software, and all the data collections are also available for people to search for. And so it's not only just our data which is accessible, but it's also all the information that we produced. If you want to go find the papers which have been developed from citizen science projects, they're there and readily available for people to see and find the details. And then and all this data is actually in over 40 different archives to actually explore. And you can see the wide range of different archives, and I'll post a link to the page that then has links to all these other pages and all these archives that you can search in. So you can find in your favorite archives from either earth science, planetary science, heliophysics, astrophysics, or the biological and physical sciences, which have our data from observation or experiments on the space station. But we also have even more than just accessing our data. You can also help contribute to help us improve our data access. And I'll give a shout out for a Earth observation dashboard hackathon, which is coming up in June. And so for those who are interested in computer programming and even user interfaces, artists, builders, any other enthusiasts for that might have skills that might be able to help, I'd also encourage you to contribute like that, to join the hackathon and contribute to that, as well as another opportunity to help contribute to science in a different way. So thank you very much, Marc.
Thank you so much, Steven. And that segues perfectly into our last speaker. Mike Meyer worked through the Project Sungrazer project, and where citizen scientists started combing directly through the SOHO archives and spotting comets. Mike, will you tell us our story?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Well, I even started with SOHO when SOHO was not even regarded as an citizen science project. It was 20 years ago, shortly after the launch of the satellite. And when the first comets were discovered, I joined the few people who were really looking for the data. And you can imagine what joy it was for me to really find a comet. Yeah, you have discovered your own comet. Unfortunately, I didn't stick my name to those comets. They all were named SOHO, but in the end, it was very exciting. And well, I've been an amateur astronomer since my teens, yeah, and I always wanted to do something which is scientifically valuable. So I observed comets visually with my telescope, and then I switched over also to the SOHO satellite. And of course, if you want to do something valuable scientifically, you also want to see it published. Maybe you want to tell others, you want to show it to other people. And that's where I then also thought about and started about publishing my results. And of course, what helped was that I found a different area where I can contribute valuable things. And it came directly from SOHO because, you know, those SOHO comments were quite a lot and a lot of data accumulated. My idea was, there was a well-known comet group. You know, a comet group is a group of many comets who travel on the same orbit around the sun. And I thought this well-known comet group is what's known since 100 years. There could be another one. And so I started to take the orbital data of those different comets and analyze them, and suddenly found that a few of them, 8 or 9 at the beginning, traveled really on the same orbit, and this was the start for the Meyer group of comets, which is known by now, which has now, I think, about 200 members or so over the many years accumulated. And what happened then? Of course, it was a discovery which was a little bit more special than just discovering a little comet in the data online. And so this was one of my first publications as really science publication in a circular. And yeah, and this was the beginning of a very exciting voyage for me, because I found it very interesting to analyze orbital data, calculate comet orbits, and to identify maybe other comets. And so in the following years, I switched from simply looking for single comets in the SOHO data to the archives. Steven mentioned it. There are a lot of data in the archives from NASA. And so maybe every year or every 2 years, I found another comet which I could relate to a comet which was seen maybe 50 or 60 years ago. I even found a new comet in NASA data. So and of course, this then also led to publications. And one thing I want to relate here: I'm not a professional astronomer. I'm an engineer, and astronomy is still a hobby for me. But you shouldn't be discouraged by this. You can always do a publication. Ask your project leader, give them new ideas you may have about something else which one can research into, and you will succeed finally. And it will help you also for other things. And I'm still doing it. Yeah. After 30 years, this year I had a publication where identified a periodic comet with 2 comets seen in the 14th and 15th and 14th century. So this was lying simply in the data. People should have found out about it in the last 60 or 70 years, but nobody had. You just should have an idea, look for it, and you wouldn't believe what citizen scientists can really achieve. Yeah, and so this is something, just believe in yourself, and you don't have to be a professional astronomer for doing this. I would like to be one, but my career was another direction, but I think it's worth following your beliefs.
Outstanding, Mike. What a great story. And there are so many professional comet hunters who wish they had groups named after them, but haven't gotten that far. It's really inspiring that you did all this stuff on your own. So,
thank you.
Now is our question and answer session. I'm going to kick it off with a question I have for Steven. Steven, I want to know what's the easiest archive? Maybe Mike, you could chime in too on this one. If people were looking for what's the most user-friendly NASA archive, what's the one I'm most likely to have fun playing around with, where would you point them?
The one my background is as an astrophysicist, and so I've recently been looking at all the different archives, and the one I really liked was the Worldview from the Earth Data System, and I can post a link to that. And then I think another one to actually just explore the data is one I mentioned there is the Trex I think it's trex.nasa. I can also post a link to that one as well. And the two of them are just allow you to just kind of explore and look around the data. And so very much, one of them is exploring basically all the images from the Earth. The other one is, and I believe Worldview even has a kids site to it as well. And the Trex allows you kind of explore the surfaces of other planets. And those are both great places, I think, to start off.
Oh, thanks. If you have a second to put links to those in the chat, I think people would enjoy that. All right, a question I'm seeing over and over again is, I'm not from the US, right? What are some opportunities for me? And I'm going to pose that to each one of our panelists, if that's okay. Aries, will you take a swing at that one? Opportunities for folks who are not in the US.
Definitely. I'm going to keep the video off to keep the connection strong. But go to the Applied Sciences website. We work with USAID with SEVERE, which is our program with international efforts. And there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there to connect with that. There's also what we did, I mentioned earlier, but truly SEVERE, where we have programs, it's serve, like to serve. And we have programs all over the world, actually, and working with using Earth data. And there's just too many ways to even list here. It also depends on what you're interested in studying. Again, be it from disease prevention to forest quality to all types of things.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Aries. And let me pass that now to Doreen.
Hey, so for OSTEM internships, you must be a U.S. citizen, but you can participate in internships at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory if you are a legal permanent resident. There are also some international programs if your country has an agreement with NASA, and I believe that link has been put in the chat. It was suspended this past year because of COVID, but I do believe it's coming back online this year. Esteban, did you have anything to add there?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. All federal opportunities require U.S. citizenship at this time. And, please understand that some of our many contractors that work with NASA and assisting us with our missions actually have more flexibilities than the federal government to hire individuals that aren't U.S. citizens.
Super. Thank you both. Do any of our other panelists have anything to add?
Well, I just add that, remember that all of our data is freely available to anyone in the world. So everyone can, look at the data in that way. There's also a couple of NASA partners which also offer internships. And, I know the Space Telescope Science Institute is one of those, which is open internationally. Along with also some of our partners in other countries like ESA and JAXA, who we also work very closely with.
Good point. So the European Space Agency and the Japanese Space Agency. Thanks for bringing those up, Steven.
And I would add that the GLOBE program is an international program. And in fact, the United States has agreements with over 125 different countries around the world participating in GLOBE. So on my Facebook, I have friends from all over the world, and it's really cool to know that we're all engaging in the same program together. So you can go to the globe.gov website, and I can drop the link to the map in the chat, so you can see whether or not your country does participate in GLOBE.
Excellent. And of course, all of our citizen science projects are open to everyone worldwide. Excellent. This next question, poor Mrinalini Singh has been asking this question all day long and all day long yesterday too, and probably unsatisfied with the answer. Ready? I have designed a space debris collector and deorbiting machine. Who should I talk to at NASA? Anybody want to take that? So that's kind of more of an engineering question than a science question per se. All right, I'll let our panelists chew on that one. If you think of somebody in that would be relevant, we'll put that in the Q&A. Okay, and Caroline and Tara, did you see any good questions on YouTube or on?
Just compliments and praise so far on the
praise.
Yeah, everybody's loving it. But I do have a question in terms of so many people are so passionate, and you can tell that they do a bunch of different NASA citizen science projects. If you had to give these folks just one tip about how to continue their involvement, and we have people of all ages, everyone from, a middle schooler to someone who might be 99 years old, what would be your one tip for someone looking to deepen their engagement with NASA and NASA science and NASA citizen science especially? I don't know who wants to take that one first, so we'll let people unmute and jump in. One piece of advice for folks, for our passionate community who's here.
So this is Aries with Earth Applied Sciences. I would say to not hold yourself back. A lot of people think that they need to be a scientist or really incredibly good at math or things like that. We have people on everything from videographers to writers contributing and working with NASA in so many different ways. I know we have tons of also websites all over the place, but keep checking in with, really, Marc is probably a great resource on who to talk to for what you're interested in.
Excellent. I have another question I want to ask Maik. I want to ask Maik, what's next for you now that you've made big discoveries? What's your next adventure into science?
Well, after every publication, I think there can't be something else, but it happens. I'm just going on to work and research and calculate and skimming through data. And of course, I'm also writing books. Maybe somebody knows Cometography series, which is a 6-volume book series about every comet found in history, which I co-authored for volumes 5 and 6. So I'm doing a lot of writing now and doing research, historic things, and so on and so on and so on. So it has shifted a little bit. Yeah, it's typical. You start with a simple citizen science project, and then you specialize and you become more like a semi-pro. Yeah, so it changes. But I don't know what comes next, but I'm quite sure it will have to do something with comets. So that's for sure.
Wow, and we just learned this afternoon from Chris Lintott that Edmund Halley himself, Comet pioneer, had launched one of the very first citizen science projects tracking a solar eclipse. Steven Crawford volunteered to take the space debris question. I'll turn the mic to him.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say there is actually the Office of Planetary Defense, and that is probably the best group to actually reach out on those topics. And so I'll post the link to the web pages there in the chat, and so if you do want to know more about that aspects, that's probably the best group to talk to.
Woo! Ask and you shall receive. Thank you, Steven.
Marc, I wanted to go back to the question about if you're already really engaged in citizen science, how can you maybe deepen that connection to NASA citizen science? And one of the things I would say, which might sound maybe too obvious, is share that passion with others. Because one of the things that I find is whenever I share and talk about, say, the GLOBE program or the specific tool in the app, I get new insights and questions from others, and it helps me think through the science even more. So that would be one of the ways I would suggest to deepen that bond and that engagement, is really share that passion and encourage others to get involved too.
Yeah, great point, Jessica. Darlene just asked a question in the chat. If there are any citizen science efforts coming up around future solar eclipses? I know the short answer is certainly yes, but do any of you have anything to add to that? I know that the Citizen Kate project, which was so successful during the last eclipse, 2017 eclipse, is definitely ramping up for the 2024 eclipse. Something like most of Americans, I don't remember the exact number, but it was more than 50% of Americans were somehow involved in observing the eclipse, the last total solar eclipse was visible from the country. Yeah, heliophysicists everywhere are very excited about harnessing that energy to do science with the next eclipse. Yeah, there are a bunch of eclipse projects coming up which aren't quite open to the public yet. Esteban, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I do. I know we have just like 2 or 3 minutes left. I think one of the things to absolutely note is I think most individuals that are on this virtual event is very passionate about working or being associated with NASA. I did want to just emphasize how important it is for you to network virtually on these digital platforms, whether it be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, just because I'm just going to throw you some very, very high level numbers. For this summer session, just in internships alone, we received over 25,000 applications for 1,100 spots. Okay. On average, for our internship programs for federal employment in the fall and the spring, we get over 10,000 applications, and that's us not even trying. So I really, really want to emphasize how important it is for individuals not to just rely on their education and their resumes. They really have to go a little bit step further in making those connections and relationships, because sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And in order to have these hiring managers or these mentors to actually be able to get your application out of this pile of thousands of resumes, they need to have that connection. So please actively reach out to individuals in those fields, in those NASA centers. I usually tell, and I see Lisa Gephardt here quite a bit because I've been in touch with Lisa for over like 2 years. So I absolutely know who Lisa is. So I really want to emphasize to you how important, especially now, you should use these platforms to reach out to those individuals that have the ability to bring you on board, whether it be through an internship or through the federal side. Not necessarily just rely on the federal side, but also look at those contract partners, JPL, SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, those type of things, because sometimes the end goal is not a straight line. You might not begin, at the NASA center you want to begin at, but eventually you'll get to your goal. So when there's a will, there's a way. And because we are all digital, it's just a lot easier for us to connect. So please, make every effort to reach out to those individuals that you need to reach out to in order to make your dream come true, okay?
Perfect, Esteban. I hope everyone who's listening stays in the NASA family. Handing this over to Tara. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. We have one session left and there is still time to sign up. Telescope time with Vivian White from the NASA Night Sky Network, featuring projects for telescope enthusiasts. So if you haven't signed up yet and still want to, head over to scistarter.org/NASA to do so. If you want to check out any of the recordings from events from the past 2 days, you can also do that on scistarter.org/NASA. Thank you all so much for this session. It was so informative, and I wish I was young enough to do a NASA internship. Is there an age limit? I don't know. No, they're shaking
No
their
age
heads no.
limit.
All right.
Nope.
Good
We
to
have
know.
retirees. We have an emeritus program. We have former NASA employees that have retired and still volunteer their time. So there's no age limit.
All right. That's inspiring. Thank you all. And thanks everyone who's watching.